They sent the fat Omega to clean the Alpha's den as a joke, but the Alpha refused to let her go. They sent her to be humiliated, but the Alpha's wolf recognized something deeper. His fated mate hidden beneath the mockery, her scent pure enough to break his control. Chapter 1. The joke that changed everything. The Frostfang pack bustled in preparation. The inspection by the Alpha King was hours away, and even the dens were scrubbed. In the communal Omega quarters, Luna wiped her hands on her apron, avoiding eye contact as usual. "Luna," one of the betas sneered, "why don't you make yourself useful and clean the Alpha's den? It reeks." Laughter erupted. Everyone knew the Alpha's quarters were sacred. No Omega was allowed inside without invitation, certainly not someone like her. Plump, quiet, and often invisible. Luna had learned to survive by staying out of sight. Today her silence was mistaken for consent. A bucket was thrust into her hands. "Go on then, unless you're too lazy." Heart racing, Luna climbed the steps to the Alpha's lodge. The heavy wooden door loomed. She pushed it open and stepped into a world that smelled of cedar, steel, and something wild. It was darker than she expected. Weapons lined the walls. Furs lay across the floor. Dust clung to the corners, and the hearth crackled faintly. She dropped to her knees and began scrubbing, careful not to disturb anything. She didn't hear the door creak, didn't sense the presence behind her, until a low growl made her freeze. "What?" a deep voice rumbled. "Are you doing in my den?" She turned slowly. Alpha Ryland stood in the doorway, towering, his mercury eyes locked on her. His scent hit her first, powerful and cold like a winter storm. But his wolf's reaction was immediate. His pupils dilated. His stance changed. Luna flinched. I was told to clean." He stepped closer. In one breath, the room filled with tension. Then his voice dropped low. "Everyone, out." There was no one else present. He wasn't speaking to her. He was speaking to the pack outside. Chapter 2. Look me in the eyes. Luna's hands trembled as she clutched the cleaning rag to her chest. She could hardly breathe with the Alpha standing only paces away, staring at her like she was something foreign or dangerous. I didn't mean to intrude, Alpha," she stammered, backing toward the door. "They told me." "Stop." His tone was low, absolute. She froze. Ryland's steel-colored eyes narrowed as he inhaled again, deeper this time. The room went silent, save for the slow creak of the timber under his boots. Something changed in him, subtle but unmistakable. The air thickened. His wolf surged beneath his skin. His gaze darkened, and his features hardened as if he were warring with instinct. "Who sent you here?" he asked. I'm not sure. It was supposed to be a joke." She broke off, cheeks flushing with shame. His expression sharpened. "A joke." He stepped forward. "Look at me," Luna blinked. "I'm not allowed." I said, "Look at me." Every instinct in her Omega blood screamed against it, but something in his tone, a strange blend of command and pleading, compelled her. Slowly, she raised her eyes. Their gazes met. A jolt shot through her chest like lightning. The Alpha flinched. His wolf howled inside him, not in rage, but in recognition. The sound vibrated in his bones, in his very soul. "Mine," he growled, out loud, raw and unfiltered. The word echoed off the den walls. Outside the door, those who lingered to mock her heard it. Luna's lips parted in shock. Ryland turned toward the door and barked, "Everyone, out now!" Even though no one was inside, the command was a warning. To them, to her, to himself. Something ancient had awakened, and it wasn't going back to sleep. Chapter 3. Mine echoes louder than mockery. The command echoed far beyond the walls of the den. Pack members lingering outside stiffened at the force of Alpha Ryland's voice. No one disobeyed him, not when his wolf surged that close to the surface. Inside, Luna stood frozen, pulse stuttering. The word still rang in her ears. Mine. He hadn't whispered it. He hadn't said it with hesitation. He had growled it like a vow. Her lips trembled. "Alpha, please, I don't understand. Why would you—" "You're not to leave this room unless I say so," he cut in. "Not until I speak to the council." The council, she whispered, confused and growing fearful. Rylan rubbed the scar on his jaw, a habit she'd never noticed until now. They'll want to know why someone thought sending you here was funny. I'm not important enough for all this. She tried to shrink into herself, curling her arms around her frame. His wolf-bright eyes flashed. You are. Silence stretched between them. Outside, muffled whispers started. Questions, gossip. The pack would know something had happened. Her scent, still lingering in the room, would only confirm the rumors beginning to swirl. Luna's voice broke through the tension. This will ruin me. Rylan turned slowly toward her, his tone colder than snow. Anyone who lays a hand or tongue against you again will answer to me. Her breathing stuttered. I'm not protecting you out of pity, he added. You smell like tranquility, and it's been a long time since my wolf felt anything but rage. She lowered her eyes again. His scent, steel and smoke, now mixed with something unmistakably hers. Her cheeks flushed. Stay here, he said at last, until I return. He left without another word. And outside, the pack already whispered about the fat Omega who'd entered the Alpha's den and wasn't asked to leave. Chapter 4. Not just a joke. Anymore. Luna remained in the Alpha's den long after the heavy door shut behind him. The crackling hearth was the only sound, but her thoughts roared louder than fire. Why hadn't he thrown her out? Why had he looked at her like that? Mine. The word still made her chest tighten. No Alpha had ever looked at her twice, let alone growled something so impossible. She rose from the floor slowly, wiping her hands on her apron. The den smelled like him, cedar, frost, and danger. And now, layered underneath, was her own scent. The thought made her stomach twist with equal parts fear and disbelief. Outside, she could hear faint murmurs, whispers, laughter. Her legs moved on instinct. She tiptoed toward the door, pressing her ear to the wood. She's still in there, someone hissed. Didn't you hear? He said she's his. No. He must have been talking to the wolves, not her. Then why hasn't he kicked her out? Luna's breathing caught. She turned from the door, shame burning through her. She'd been mocked before, but this time it was worse. This wasn't about her size or silence. Now it was about her being wanted. And they hated that more than anything. The door creaked open. She jumped, expecting Rylan again, but it was someone else. Kara. The beta female strolled in without knocking, eyes glinting. Still playing house, little Omega? I was just cleaning, Luna replied quietly. Kara's lips curled into a sneer. Of course you were, but don't get comfortable. Alphas play rough, especially with toys they didn't ask for. She turned, leaving without waiting for a reply. Luna stared after her, chest tight with dread. She hadn't been meant to stay, but Rylan hadn't told her to go, and that terrified her more than anything else. Chapter 5. The Alpha's Restraint. The council chamber was colder than the den, colder than the mountains outside. Rylan stood at the head of the table, arms crossed, features rigid. She was sent into my quarters as a prank, he stated flatly. I want names. The elders shifted uncomfortably. Only Elder Morin held his gaze. She's a cleaner, is she not? One elder dared. Perhaps she misinterpreted the order. No Omega walks into an Alpha's den alone unless she's sent, Rylan snapped. Especially that Omega. That Omega rang in the air like a gavel. Elder Morin's brows lifted. You knew she was mocked Alpha. I don't miss much. The other council members exchanged glances, whispers darting beneath their breath. Then why is she still there? Kara's voice cut through as she entered the room unannounced, her arms folded. Why not send her away? Rylan turned to her slowly. Because my wolf won't allow it. The chamber fell into stunned silence. Kara's expression faltered. You're not claiming her. Are you? He didn't answer, but the set of his shoulders, the cold in his stare, it was answer enough. Back in the den, Luna sat curled on the fur rug, knees drawn to her chest. The firelight danced on the walls, flickering like her heartbeat. She should have run, but something in her had rooted her here. Not fear, not obedience, something else. The door opened. Rylan stepped in, eyes tired but glowing faintly silver. I told them the truth, he said simply. That someone tried to humiliate you, that they failed. She looked up, startled. Why? Because the pack needs to learn what real strength looks like. He knelt beside her, close but careful. I don't want you afraid of me, Luna. She met his eyes slowly. I'm not. He exhaled like he'd been holding that breath for years. Chapter 6. The Scent of Stillness. Rylan hadn't expected her to say it. I'm not afraid. He'd heard so many lies in his lifetime, sugar-coated words from council members, calculated flattery from ambitious betas, but her voice held no deception, just quiet truth. Still, his wolf didn't relax. It prowled beneath his skin, restless, pacing. He'd never felt this level of restraint before. Usually, when his instincts rose, they overwhelmed him, especially since the war. But now, near her, his wolf didn't demand blood. It demanded closeness. That terrified him more than rage ever had. Luna watched him carefully, sensing his turmoil though he barely moved. She had always observed others from the edges, silently, subtly. It was how she survived. You look like you're in pain, she said softly. Rylan blinked. I am. His honesty surprised her. He rose, pacing near the hearth. Ever since the war ended, my wolf hasn't settled. No sleep, no peace. The healers tried everything. Meditation, magic. Nothing worked. He turned toward her. Until you walked into my den. Luna's breathing hitched. I don't know what it means yet, he continued, tone low. But your scent, it's not ordinary. A flush crept up her cheeks. Because I'm fat? He stopped in his tracks. No, he said firmly. Because it's real, unmasked, unaltered. You smell like earth after rain, like a sanctuary. Her lips parted in astonishment. I'll understand if you want to leave, he added, his voice rough. But I'd rather you didn't. Luna's chest raced. Every instinct told her this was dangerous. Staying could mean more whispers, more shame, more pain. But something in her, the same part that had always longed to be seen, wanted to stay. I'll stay, she whispered, then quickly added, just until things settle. Rylan nodded, but deep in his eyes, something burned. They both knew nothing would settle now. Chapter 7. Beneath the Fur and Firelight. The next morning, Luna awoke curled on a bed too large and warm for someone like her. The alpha's den was still and silent, bathed in golden shafts of sunlight. She sat up slowly, the thick fur blanket sliding off her shoulders. Her scent lingered in the room now, no longer hidden, no longer ignored. She had expected to feel fear. Instead, she felt watched over. The door creaked open and Rylan entered, carrying a tray, meat, warm bread, and mountain berries. For you, he said gruffly, setting it down. She blinked. You didn't have to. I did. He pulled a chair beside the hearth. You didn't eat last night, Luna hesitated. People will talk. They already are, her stomach twisted. And you don't care? Rylan looked at her then, truly looked. I care about keeping you safe, and fed, and sane. Let them choke on their gossip. Luna swallowed hard, eyes stinging. No one had ever defended her like this, not even her own family. As she ate in silence, Rylan spoke. My wolf doesn't react to anyone else like this, not even during blood hunts. But when you're near, it settles. It listens. She set the bread down, trembling. I don't know how to respond to this. I'm not used to being wanted. Rylan stood slowly and approached, crouching beside her. You're not here because I pity you. You're here because I need you. The words landed like thunder in her chest. His fingers brushed her hand, testing. She didn't pull away. He leaned closer. If I claim you, Luna, it won't be because my wolf demands it. It'll be because you let me. Luna met his gaze, pulse beating wildly. I'm not ready, she whispered. His tone was steady. Then I'll wait. And for the first time in years, Luna believed someone truly meant it. Chapter 8. Whispers Don't Sleep. Luna stood by the window of the alpha's den as dusk fell, watching the forest sway beyond the cliffs. The days had passed quietly, too quietly. Rylan kept his word. He didn't touch her, didn't pressure her, but he never let her walk alone either. The den was no longer just a shelter. It had started to feel like a heartbeat. Still, she felt the weight of eyes every time she stepped outside. Whispers followed her like shadows, slithering through corridors and across fire pits. She's still there? What does he see in her? She must be using scent charms. Luna's shoulders hunched tighter each time she heard them. Tonight she remained inside. She traced the edge of the old scarred table with her fingers, wishing she had the courage to ask Rylan why he hadn't told them all the truth. Then the door opened, and she didn't need to ask. Rylan's mouth was compressed. His hands were stained with sap and dirt, as if he'd taken out his fury on the forest itself. "They're getting bolder," he muttered. She didn't need to ask who they were. "I'm sorry," she said quietly. His gaze snapped to hers. "You're apologizing for being chosen?" Her breathing caught. "I wasn't chosen." "You said it yourself. Your wolf just reacts." Rylan stepped forward. "My wolf doesn't choose. I do." That silenced her. He stopped just short of touching her. "I've let them speak freely because I didn't want to make you feel trapped. But if another wolf so much as breathes your name with spite—" "No," she whispered, placing her hand gently on his chest. "Let me handle it." His eyes darkened. "Luna? I've hidden most of my life. Let me try something different." He stared at her, then nodded once. But outside, a pair of jealous eyes had already seen enough, and plotted more. Chapter 9. Beta Teeth in Pretty Smiles. Kara didn't knock. She stormed into the Elder's Hall like she belonged there, her beta mark gleaming, and her posture proud. Elder Morin looked up from a scroll, his expression weary. "This better be important," he grunted. "It is," Kara snapped, eyes sharp. "The Omega still occupies the Alpha's den." Morin raised a brow. "We know. She's using scent charms." That made him pause. "You're certain?" he asked. "She has to be," Kara hissed. "No Alpha, especially not one like Rylan, would keep her otherwise. The pack is restless. They think he's losing control." Morin exhaled slowly, calculating. "You want to test?" "Publicly," she said, "to preserve order." He stared at her, eyes narrowing. "Or to serve your own jealousy?" Kara didn't flinch. "To preserve the pack." Morin tapped his cane on the stone floor. "Very well. The council will request a purity and scent binding test." A satisfied smirk curved Kara's lips. "Good." Luna sat on the balcony ledge that night, legs swinging gently, hair loose in the breeze. Rylan stood behind her, watching in silence. He'd grown used to her quiet, how she didn't fill silence with fear or flattery. She simply existed beside him. "Do you ever miss being unknown?" she asked suddenly. He blinked. "I miss being underestimated." She smiled faintly. "I miss being invisible." He frowned, stepping closer. "They still don't see you, but I do." She turned to face him, about to respond, when a knock interrupted them. A scout stood at the threshold. "Alpha, the council has summoned Luna." Rylan's eyes turned to ice. "Why?" The scout hesitated. "They're demanding a scent binding test, and a virginity trial." Luna's face went pale. Rylan's wolf snarled, but Luna only whispered, "Let them try." Chapter 10. The Trial of Shame. The council chamber was filled to capacity. Omegas, betas, even visiting alphas gathered in stiff silence. Torches burned low, shadows flickering across stone walls. At the center, Luna stood alone beneath the council's arch. A wooden curve carved with the pack's laws, a symbol of judgment. Rylan entered last. He didn't sit in his seat as Alpha. He stood beside her, silent and towering, eyes fixed on the elders like a predator holding his last breath. Elder Morin tapped his staff once. "Luna of the Frostfang Pack, you've been accused of scent manipulation and seduction through unlawful means. How do you answer?" Luna looked up, voice steady. "I've done nothing but breathe." A ripple moved through the crowd. Morin cleared his throat. "Then you will submit to scent testing. If you're fated, it will be confirmed. If not, the accusations will be judged accordingly." Kara stepped forward with a small vial, scent neutralizing oil, and a strip of cloth. Rylan growled low in his throat. "You'll not put hands on her." She must be prepared, Kara said sweetly, eyes never leaving Luna's. Luna held up her hand. I'll do it. She rubbed the oil along her neck and wrists. The scent dampened quickly, leaving only the faintest trace. Step forward, Moren commanded. Another beta male moved to test the space around her, sniffing cautiously. His expression shifted from skepticism to something else. He stepped back, eyes wide. Another beta followed. Same result. By the third, murmurs filled the room. Moren frowned. What is it? She's pure, the third beta said. But more than that. Her scent calms everything. It's like standing in still water. Even Kara faltered. Then Rylan moved, slow, deliberate, stepping behind Luna. No oil, no hiding. He inhaled, and his wolf howled, not in anger, but in recognition. Rylan raised his voice. She is mine, not by scent games or tricks, by the will of the bond itself. Moren stood. Then by ancient law, none may challenge her place, nor yours beside her. Gasps echoed. Some knelt, but Kara did not. Her eyes burned. She would not be defeated this easily. Chapter 11. After the howl, the crowd dispersed slowly, murmurs trailing like smoke. Some bowed, others stared. A few left in silence, their loyalties shaken. But Luna didn't hear any of them. Her hands trembled as she stood beneath the council arch, the oil still slick on her skin. Rylan stood beside her, unmoving, watchful, not as an alpha defending territory, but as something far more dangerous, a male protecting his mate. He touched her arm gently. Let's go. They walked through the hall like wolves parting a forest, silence opening in their wake. Back in the den, Luna dropped to the edge of the bed. Her knees nearly buckled, and she didn't stop the tears that slipped down her cheeks. I didn't want to prove myself like that, she whispered. You shouldn't have had to, Rylan said, crouching in front of her. That trial wasn't justice. It was cruelty dressed in tradition. She met his eyes. But your wolf? It howled. He exhaled slowly. It's never done that before. They sat in the quiet for a long moment. Fire crackled in the hearth. A wolf howled in the far mountains. And then, a knock. Rylan stood. Elder Moren entered, uninvited but not unkind. He studied Luna carefully. Your strength surprised them. I wasn't strong, she murmured. You stood your ground without fighting. That's rarer than you think. He glanced at Rylan. There will be consequences. Some betas won't accept your bond. You've upended a power balance older than either of you. She's not leaving this den, Rylan said, tone sharp. I didn't ask her to, Moren replied. But I am asking both of you to be ready. Alpha Derek of the Thornspine Pack has already heard the rumors. Rylan's eyes narrowed. Let him come. Moren looked at Luna again. It's not you they fear, Omega. It's what you do to him. Then he left, leaving behind a silence that said more than any howl ever could. Chapter 12. The Beta's Bargain. The fire in Kara's hearth burned low, but her anger ran hot. She paced in tight circles, eyes flashing in the dim candlelight. The council had allowed that Omega to walk free. No, worse. They'd all but crowned her queen. His queen. Kara's hands curled into fists. She isn't even trained. Doesn't know what she is. A soft knock came at her chamber door. She turned sharply. Enter. A messenger stepped inside, eyes downcast. He responded. Her pulse skipped. She took the sealed parchment, broke the black wax, and scanned the words. If Frostfang's alpha has gone soft, I'll correct it myself. Send the girl, or I'll come take her. Derek. Kara smiled. Alpha Derek had always despised Rylan's reign. Too disciplined, too distant. He'd been waiting for an excuse to challenge him. Luna's bond was that excuse. She turned to the messenger. Send word back. The Omega will be alone during tomorrow's trade inspection. She walks the outer market trail at dawn. The boy hesitated. You'd give her to him? She was never meant to stay, Kara said coldly. She doesn't belong to Frostfang. She doesn't belong to him. The next morning, Luna stepped carefully along the edge of the marketplace. Trade crates bustled past, full of herbs, dried meats, and pelts. The air was crisp, laced with pine and promise. She'd asked Rylan to let her walk alone, just once. "I need to show them I'm not hiding," she'd told him. He'd hesitated, then agreed, on the condition that a scout shadow her from a distance. But Luna didn't know the scout had been paid off, and she didn't notice the cloaked riders waiting just beyond the curve of the path. Her instincts pricked, but not in time. A hand clamped over her mouth. Another yanked her into the trees. Rylan's name echoed in her head as the forest swallowed her scream. Chapter 13. The Alpha Unleashed. The scout came stumbling through the Alpha's doors, bloodied and breathless. Rylan didn't wait for words. The man's scent reeked of fear and shame. "She's gone," he gasped. "Taken, 3 riders. No Frostfang markings, no warning." Rylan was already moving. The storm in his chest broke free, his wolf slamming forward so fast his vision blurred. His growl wasn't a sound, it was a promise. "Where?" "South Trail, near the pine split." Kara appeared in the hallway, feigning concern. "What's happened?" His eyes snapped to hers, frost-bright and savage. "Luna is missing," he said coldly. "Taken on your watch." I didn't know." "You did." His tone dropped to a deadly whisper. "If she bleeds, you'll answer for it." He shifted mid-stride, bones snapping, fur exploding across muscle. The transformation was brutal, beautiful, terrifying. His wolf was larger than any other in the region, scars visible even beneath the dense silver coat. Without another word, Rylan bolted from the den and vanished into the trees. Luna fought back. She kicked and scratched as they dragged her over moss and stone. One rider cursed, slapping her hard enough to draw blood. "You'll regret this," she hissed through clenched teeth. The leader smirked. "You think we fear your alpha? You should." She wasn't sure where the courage came from, but it tasted like wildfire. They threw her across a horse's back and rode deeper into Thornspine territory. Rylan reached the abduction site minutes later. The scent trail was sharp, pine, sweat, iron. One drop of blood on the moss made him stop dead. Not because of the blood, because it was hers. His wolf lost all control. He howled, a sound that tore through the valley like thunder, calling every Frostfang warrior within range. The meaning was clear. War had come, and it wore the scent of his mate. Chapter 14. The scent they wanted. Luna's wrists ached from the rough rope. The Thornspine warriors had thrown her into a cold stone chamber beneath their outpost, damp with moss and silence. Moonlight barely reached through the bars above, but it wasn't the chains that chilled her. It was what one of the guards had whispered just before slamming the door. "She smells like serenity." She curled into herself on the hard floor, mind racing. Serenity. That wasn't an insult, it was purpose. Were they studying her? Using her? No. It wasn't just about humiliating Frostfang. It was about her. Footsteps echoed. A heavy door creaked open. A tall man stepped inside, Alpha Darek. He looked nothing like Rylan. Where Rylan carried his power like tempered steel, Darek dripped with showy arrogance. His eyes were hungry, his smile cruel. "You're smaller than I imagined," he mused, circling her. "Yet your scent reaches everywhere. You've soothed his wolf, haven't you?" She didn't answer. He crouched. "Did he tell you what you are?" "A captive," she said coldly. "No, a weapon." Her chest tightened. "You don't just calm wolves. You control them, unknowingly perhaps, but it's there. Ancient blood, forgotten lineage." He stood, pacing. "I've seen too many alphas fall to madness. You could tame armies." Her pulse thundered. "I'm not yours to use." "You're not his either," he said, eyes glinting. "Not yet." Meanwhile, deep in the forest, Rylan stood at the border of Thornspine territory. His warriors waited behind him, restless and armed. But he didn't wait. With a snarl, he leapt forward, tearing into enemy soil. There would be no negotiations, not until Luna was back, not until every hand that touched her regretted it. And far above, the moon rose blood-red, watching, waiting. Chapter 15. She Who Will Not Break. Derek stood at the doorway, arms folded as he watched Luna pace the cell. "You should be honored," he said, voice slick with condescension. Your bloodline is rarer than silver. We could build a kingdom with what's inside you. Luna stopped pacing. You want to use me like a trophy, a tool. A queen, he corrected, stepping closer. One that bends the wildest wolves to stillness. She raised her chin. No wolf wants stillness born from chains. Darek's smile faded. You speak boldly for someone with no allies here. I have one, she said softly. The torchlight flickered against the stone. Darek tilted his head. Your alpha? He'll never make it through my lines. You don't understand him, Luna murmured. He's not coming as an alpha. She stepped forward, eyes steady. He's coming as my mate. Darek's expression finally cracked. Before he could reply, a horn blared in the distance. 3 short bursts. Thornspine's alarm. The guards stiffened. Darek growled. He's early. Ryland tore through the first patrol with no armor and no mercy. His warriors followed, but none matched his pace. He moved like a storm, his wolf snarling just beneath his skin. Mercury eyes locked on one thing, her. Every strike was surgical. Every step brought him closer. A Thornspine soldier lunged. Ryland caught him mid-air and crushed his windpipe with one hand. Where is she? He demanded. The man choked, pointing toward the northern keep before collapsing. Ryland didn't hesitate. Back in the cell, Luna heard the chaos rising. She sat down, smoothed her dress, and stared at the door. She didn't cry, she didn't beg. Let them think she was powerless. Because any moment now, the one who loved her would arrive, and the entire mountain would remember what it meant to challenge a true bond. Chapter 16. The Den That Dared Cage. The gates of Thornspine Keep cracked like bones beneath Ryland's fists. He shifted mid-charge, fur retreating into skin, wolf-bright eyes glowing in the torchlight as he stalked through the shattered entry like a god of vengeance. The guards who dared to block him lasted seconds. Some fled without drawing their weapons. He didn't speak, didn't roar. He didn't need to. His fury was felt. Inside the highest tower, Luna jolted as the stones beneath her shook. Dust rained from the ceiling. Darek turned toward the hallway, his calm fracturing. He's here, Luna whispered, rising to her feet. Darek bared his teeth. If he takes you, I lose everything. He drew a blade from his belt, eyes wild. Luna didn't flinch. Then you should have never taken me. Ryland climbed the tower stairs 3 steps at a time. Blood slicked his palms. His breathing came ragged, feral. Each heartbeat thundered with one word. Mate! He reached the top just as Darek burst from the chamber with Luna held by the arm, dagger pressed to her throat. Not one more step, Darek barked. Ryland didn't stop. Luna met his eyes over Darek's shoulder. She wasn't crying. She wasn't afraid. And in that instant, everything inside Ryland stilled. Let her go, he said low, deadly calm. Or I rip you apart in front of your pack. Darek hesitated. Then Luna acted. With a sharp twist, she stomped on his foot, elbowed his ribs, and jerked free. The blade grazed her skin, but she was already moving. Ryland launched forward. He slammed Darek into the stone wall so hard the tower shook. The dagger clattered to the floor. Ryland's wolf surged forward, claws half-formed, teeth bared. Yield, he snarled. Darek spit blood. You wouldn't dare. Ryland leaned in. Try me. Then he turned, because Luna was collapsing. He caught her before she hit the ground. Chapter 17. Bound Beneath the Moon. Luna awoke in warmth and scent. She blinked slowly, the flicker of firelight playing across stone walls. She wasn't in Thornspine anymore. Soft furs cradled her, and a hand, rough, calloused, familiar, held hers tightly. Ryland, she whispered. His head snapped up. You're awake? His tone cracked, part relief, part disbelief. She tried to sit, winced, and immediately he was at her side. Easy, you lost blood. You were unconscious for hours. I'm okay, she breathed. No, you're not, he said fiercely. They touched you, hurt you. I should have. You came, she interrupted. You found me. Emotion flickered behind his steel-colored eyes. He took a shuddering breath. I thought I'd lost you. She brushed her fingers along his jaw, tracing the scar he'd earned years ago in battle. You didn't. You never did. His hands trembled. I fought through fire to reach you, he said, tone low. And I would do it again. I don't care about tradition or council or bloodlines. You are mine, Luna. Not because my wolf says so, because I do. The air in the room shifted. The bond between them tightened like a string pulled taut. Her pulse thudded against her ribs. I'm tired of pretending I'm not enough, she whispered. I'm tired of hiding. He cupped her face gently. Then let me show you how seen you really are. Their lips met, softly at first. Then with a force that stole the breath from her lungs. Heat rushed through her veins, not from desire alone, but from something ancient. Rylan gasped against her skin. The bond, it's locking. Her body arched involuntarily. I feel it. Wolves howled outside the den, sensing the surge. Inside, their souls aligned. In that moment, they weren't Alpha and Omega, not predator and prey. They were one. Chapter 18. When the bond breaks silence. The howl had reached beyond the walls of Frostfang. By dawn, messengers galloped between territories. Whispers carried across borders, halls, and hearths. Alpha Rylan had taken a mate. An Omega. And not just any Omega, the one mocked, humiliated, and kidnapped. The mating had been witnessed by no council, no ceremony, no approval, only instinct, only fate. In the heart of Frostfang, wolves gathered at the borders of the Alpha's den. They waited for confirmation, for denial, for anything. Elder Morin stood in the courtyard, arms folded, watching the curious faces. He's made his choice, he finally said. Then he's broken the order, another councilman hissed. Mating without right? With her? Morin's eyes narrowed. Sometimes order must break to reveal the rot beneath it. Inside, Luna stirred beneath warm furs, the mating mark still pulsing on her neck. She touched it softly, disbelieving. Rylan stood shirtless by the hearth, arms crossed, watching the flames. I can feel you in my chest, she whispered. He turned, gaze fierce. Good. Because I'll never let you be taken from me again. She sat up, nervous. What now? He approached slowly, kneeling before her. We face the pack, together. You think they'll accept me? He smiled, slow, wolfish. They'll learn to. Before she could answer, another knock rang out. A scout entered, head bowed. Alpha, the council summons you, and your mate. Rylan's features tightened. Of course they do. Also, the scout added, hesitating, Alpha Derek escaped. Luna's chest dropped. He's still alive? Rylan's eyes turned cold. For now. Outside, clouds gathered above Frostfang. Change had come, but peace? Peace had only begun to bleed. Chapter 19. The Mate and the Mob. They walked side by side through Frostfang's central square. Rylan wore his ceremonial cloak, silver wolf clasp pinned at his shoulder. Luna, in a simple wool dress, walked without armor, without pretense, but not without fear. Dozens of wolves lined the path. Warriors, elders, younglings, all silent. Luna's fingers trembled. Rylan took her hand in full view of the pack and did not let go. The silence cracked. They mated without council approval. She's just an Omega. She was kidnapped. She should be recovering, not ruling. She calmed the Alpha's wolf. Maybe she bewitched him. Luna heard every word, but she kept walking. At the council dais, Elder Morin stepped forward. We recognize Alpha Rylan's claim. The bond is sealed. But it defies tradition, one elder argued. And tradition, Morin replied evenly, almost cost us a true mate bond. The murmurs grew louder. Kara stepped from the crowd, tone dripping venom. Then let her prove she belongs. Luna froze. She's not trained. She can't fight, can't command. She's not here to command, Rylan growled. She's here because she is mine, and because she saved this pack by calming my wolf. Then let her calm ours, Kara said. Let her stand in the circle of judgment and face every ranked wolf. If she can tame their beasts, we'll submit. The crowd hushed. Luna swallowed. You want me to face wolves in full form, she asked. Kara smiled. Unarmed, unshielded. Rylan stepped forward. Absolutely not. But Luna raised her chin. I'll do it. Rylan turned to her, mouth compressed. You don't need to prove anything. I do, she whispered. Not for them. For me. She turned back to the crowd. I will stand in your circle. I will face your fangs. And when I walk out whole, you'll see I was never weak." The pack held its breath. So did the wind. Chapter 20. The Circle of Judgment. The Circle of Judgment was an ancient pit, half arena, half sacred ground, surrounded by jagged stone and silent wolves. Snow fell in thin flakes as if the moon herself held her breath. Luna stepped barefoot into the ring. No weapons, no protection, just her. Above her, the pack gathered in tiers. Warriors in full shift stood at the edge of the circle, fur bristling, teeth bared. Kara sat among the elders, arms crossed, smirking. Ryland stood at the northern arc, fists clenched so tightly his knuckles had gone white. "She doesn't have to do this," he growled to Morin. "She knows she does," the old wolf said softly. "And that's what makes her stronger than any alpha." A horn sounded. The first wolf entered, a hulking beta with black fur and rage in his eyes. He snarled, stalking toward Luna, nose twitching, teeth gleaming. Luna stood still. She breathed slowly. Her pulse pounded, but she did not move. The beta lunged, a blur of fur and muscle, then stopped. Inches from her face, he froze, trembling. His growl turned to a whine. His head dipped. Then he backed away. The circle whispered. Another wolf entered, a white-furred female with gold eyes. She charged, fangs flashing. Luna looked into her eyes. "I'm not your enemy," she whispered. The wolf halted mid-leap, skidding across the dirt, panting. She too bowed her head. One by one, wolf after wolf entered the ring, and one by one they broke against her calm. By the 10th wolf, the crowd had gone utterly still. At the end, Luna stood alone, unmarked, untouched, unbroken. She turned to the pack. "I didn't come to command," she said. "But you asked me to face your fear, and I stood. Not because I'm an alpha, because I am me, and that is enough." No one cheered, no one dared to speak, until Ryland stepped into the circle and bowed to her. And then, slowly, so did the pack. Chapter 21. The Crown Without Peace. They crowned her at twilight, not with gold or jewels, but with a carved band of frostfang silver, etched with the sigil of the moonwolf. Ryland stood behind her, silent and fierce, his hand resting on her shoulder. Before the pack, Elder Morin raised his staff. "This is Luna. No longer outsider, no longer joke." She stood in the circle, and it bowed to her, by instinct, by bond, by right. The crowd bowed, not with mockery this time, but with reverence. But even as the howls of unity rose across the valley, Luna's chest remained heavy. In the back of the crowd, Kara stood still. And beside her, a shadow. A thornspine wolf, slipped past the border, unnoticed. Later, in the quiet of their den, Luna sat near the fire, the crown resting on the table beside her. Ryland knelt in front of her, his hands warm around hers. "You were brilliant," he whispered. "I was terrified," she admitted. "Still am," his brow furrowed. "Why?" "Because stillness always feels like the moment before the storm." He pressed a kiss to her knuckles. "Then we'll face it together, whatever comes." But neither knew what waited just beyond the Frostfang border. In a dim cave, Alpha Derek pressed a bloodied scroll into Kara's hands. "You said she was just a calming scent," he growled. "You didn't say she could unmake a pack." "She's still just one Omega," Kara spat. "No," he said. "She's their heart now. If she falls, Frostfang falls." Kara met his gaze. "Then we don't strike Ryland," she let the scroll unroll. "We strike her." Back in the den, Luna touched the mark on her neck. It pulsed faintly, comforting, sure. But far away, the bond tugged like a thread straining against a blade. The storm wasn't coming. It had already begun. Chapter 22. Betrayal Beneath the Moon. The celebration was still echoing in the mountains when the poison was slipped into the tea. Luna had been in the healer's hut, visiting a wounded scout who'd taken an arrow for her during the circle trials. She thanked him softly, shared a story, and accepted the drink offered by a quiet, hooded servant with shaking hands. She never saw the eyes beneath the hood, never smelled the poison beneath the herbs. Ryland found her slumped across the scout's bed an hour later, her skin clammy, her pulse fading. The world cracked. "Luna!" he roared, gathering her into his arms, the teacup shattering at his feet. The scout screamed for help. Rylan ran with her in his arms, like death itself chased him. She stirred faintly. "Your scent, still here." "Stay awake," he begged. "Don't say goodbye." She smiled faintly. "I'm not leaving. I just can't find the light right now." Then she went still. The healers worked through the night. Elder Morin stood at the door, grim-faced. "It was aconite," the head healer muttered. "Masked in mint root. Deliberate. Meant to weaken the bond." Rylan's tone was ice. "Is she going to die?" "Not if she fights," the healer said. "But she won't wake unless something anchors her." Rylan stood, trembling. He walked into the room and closed the door. Then he laid beside her, wrapped his arms around her trembling body, and whispered every truth he'd never said. "You weren't a joke. You weren't a mistake. You were the only real thing I've ever known." His tears fell into her hair. "Come back to me, Luna. Come back and burn the world with me." In her mind, darkness swirled. But then, a voice, warm, steady, loved. Her fingers twitched, and in the distance, her wolf turned toward the sound. Chapter 23. The Omega Rises. Luna gasped awake. The rush of air burned her lungs, and her vision swam with firelight and blurred outlines. Rylan was at her side in an instant, gripping her hand like it was the only thing tethering him to sanity. "You're here," he breathed. His tone cracked. "You came back." Her lips moved slowly. "Your voice pulled me through." He leaned down, forehead to hers, breathing her in. "You terrified me." She smiled faintly. "Good. Now we're even." The door burst open. Morin and the healer entered, relief washing over their faces. "She's stabilized," the healer confirmed. "But the aconite, someone knew how to mask it well." Rylan stood, fury sharpening every line of his face. "We will find out who." Morin's expression turned grim. "We already have." He held out a pouch, small, worn, embroidered with red thread. "This was found beneath the servant's cloak. The crest belongs to Kara's bloodline." Rylan's mouth compressed. "Where is she?" "Gone," Morin said. "She left just after the celebration. No trail. But we believe she worked with Thornspine." Luna sat up slowly. "She poisoned me to break the bond." "And failed," Rylan said darkly. "She won't stop," Luna murmured. "Not until I'm erased." "Because if an Omega like me can stand beside an Alpha like you, her whole world unravels." Rylan looked down at her. "Then we don't wait. We end this." Morin hesitated. "Alpha, there's more." He handed Rylan a torn scroll, sealed in black wax. Rylan scanned the message. His expression hardened. "What is it?" Luna asked. "The Alpha Council," Rylan replied. "They've summoned us both to the capital." Luna's breathing caught. "Why?" "Because word of our bond has spread. They see it as a threat." His tone dropped. "Or a miracle?" Outside, snow began to fall. Inside, war gathered its breath. But in the firelight, Luna stood, weak but unshaken. "I'm not afraid," she said. "Good," Rylan whispered, "because the Court of Alphas is a colder battlefield than any war." Chapter 24. The Court of Wolves. The capital of the Northern Pax, Citadel Umbra, rose like a fortress carved from shadow and ice. Its spires pierced the sky, and its halls echoed with centuries of judgment. At its center stood the great hall of the Alpha Council, where bloodlines were honored and hearts were rarely heard. Rylan and Luna entered together, cloaked in silence. Dozens of Alphas sat on stone thrones in a circle, each bearing a crest of their pack. At the center stood the High Alpha Chancellor, a silver-bearded man whose gaze could turn steel to ash. "Alpha Rylan," he called. "Omega Luna." She flinched slightly at the emphasis. "You come here mated without right, without approval, without trial. Do you deny it?" "We claim it," Rylan said, tone clear. "And you," the Chancellor said, turning to Luna, who was mocked, dismissed, and untrained, now claimed the crown of Frostfang. "I never claimed a crown," Luna said softly. "Only the right to be seen, and to love." Murmurs rippled through the chamber. "Love?" another Alpha sneered. "What place has love among wolves?" Rylan stepped forward. If strength lies only in conquest, then why did no wolf ever tame my rage until her? He let the silence linger. Her presence doesn't weaken me. It balances me. You fear that, because you've forgotten what the bond means. The Chancellor's eyes narrowed. Then prove your claim. Let the council test her, the ancient way. Luna's breathing caught. What test? Let her walk the path of flame, he said. Barefoot, alone. If the bond holds, the fire will not consume her. Rylan growled, stepping in front of her. That tradition was outlawed. Then decline, the Chancellor said coldly, and we strip you of your title. Luna touched Rylan's arm. I'll walk it. He turned to her, stunned. Luna? If I burn, she whispered. At least it was for something true. And so, the path was lit. And the world watched.